coming in as a kickboxer is something that he hasn't seen before. He's dissected the sport of boxing. Still, I'll bring something to the table that you haven't seen before. And that's gonna be the difference, the biggest difference. And that's gonna be the reason why I'm gonna beat you.
We'll see.
100%.
Listen, we prepare this. Yes, it's another different style, but we have not more, but video. One fight, Rico in boxing fight, yeah. But we look kickboxing fights. But my team help me, my coach, my team.
Beat you is because I'm bringing something different to the table that you haven't seen before. You've seen everything there is in the sport of boxing.
More of it, that's for sure. And everybody wants to show some respect to each other. And let's see the fight where it should happen in the ring.
But he's going to be dangerous. Like all the attributes that he has, they still exist, regardless of his mental state. But I see a kid in pain. You know, I've got to be honest with you. Like, I don't see how people around him can be looking at his behaviour and being comfortable.
After the fight, he may apologise and say, look, I went too far, I shouldn't have said that. But he needed to get a response from Anthony Joshua and get him into a certain mindset.
Oleksandr, what he's done, he's wiped the floor with everybody. He's established himself at the top there. So now you look at him and you'll think financially, will he be in a better position than Tyson Fury? No, not in my opinion. Anthony Joshua? No, not in my opinion. The big money fights aren't out there for him, so he's got to do something. He's got to put himself in a position where he's got to win, because he's proved he's top draw. So in this fight here, I think it creates interest, intrigue. I'm quite sure there's a healthy pay packet at the end of it. This is now.
But I'm not interested in. I like Rico Verhoeven, sparred him, know him, nice fella, very good kickboxer, one of the best of all time, but he's not a boxer. If he wants to fight,
can he box?
Yeah, he can box. He's a very good boxer, but he shouldn't be boxing the best heavyweight in the world. If he wants to do it as an exhibition, go and do it. I'm not interested in Usyk Verhoeven, just for the simple.
What I believe is that the puzzle of boxing, Oleksandr solves multiple times, too many times already. And I think this is a puzzle he hasn't solved yet. So I'm gonna bring kickboxing angles, bring a different type of puzzle. And like I said, I'm a big unit. I'm like 125 kilos. So this is something.
Rico just lost it completely. Flipped the table, shoved Usyk in the chest, and sent security scrambling. This wasn't your typical face-off drama. This was a fighter completely losing control on live television.
But he's going to be dangerous. Like all the attributes that he has, they still exist, regardless of his mental state. But I see a kid in pain. You know, I've got to be honest with you. Like, I don't see how people around him can be looking at his behaviour and being comfortable.
And here's what's wild about it. Usyk stayed ice cold the entire time. Didn't flinch, didn't react, just kept cutting deep with his responses. That silence, that's what triggered Rico's explosion. When you can't get a reaction, some fighters just snap.
Oleksandr Usyk is the Rico Verhoeven in boxing.
Yeah.
So like he's been dominating for so long and in such phenomenal fashion. So I was like, wow, if we could do this, that would be like the cherry on the cake.
But this goes way deeper than a simple press conference meltdown. Eddie Hearn's already questioning Rico's mental state behind the scenes. He's worried about a fighter operating under serious pressure, heading into chaos rather than control. And that's terrifying.
Oleksandr Usyk steps in and will take on one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. I'm actually quite a big kickboxing fan, so I know quite a lot about him. I've watched a few of his fights over the years. They used to call him the Prince of Kickboxing, and then he elevated to the King of Kickboxing. I mean, he's a very, very, very good kickboxer who's got decent hands.
Frank Warren had to distance himself from the whole mess, talking about how moments like this damage boxing's image. When your own promoter is publicly disappointed, that's when you know things have gone completely sideways. This crossed professional boundaries.
The kickboxer for a long time and not really done much in boxing at all to definitely to warrant a shot at Oleksandr Usyk when there's a queue so big. And
Indeed.
You know what I mean? And that's the most important thing. The people who are sitting waiting for their shot in line are going to be fuming over this. Some would say, to counter their argument, Usyk's probably earned the right to have an easy.
Johnny Nelson called it perfectly. There's a line between mind games and personal attacks, and Rico obliterated that line. Family got dragged in, respect went out the window, and now we've got a fighter who might be too emotionally invested to think straight.
His own little space, and I can see how the monetization vehicle of this works. But Usyk wouldn't be doing this unless there's a reason for it. There must be a motivation behind it. It must be some form of derivative as to what happened between the various disciplines crossing over with Ngannou.
Here's the kicker, though. Despite all this instability, Rico's still positioning himself as an elite-level threat. He's comparing his kickboxing dominance to Usyk's boxing reign, claiming this crossover represents the ultimate legacy-defining challenge.
When this kid's had one bout as a professional boxer, you go, so, you know, how can he jump the queue and box Oleksandr Usyk for the WBC title? To me, that doesn't make any sense at all, and I think it makes a mockery, again, of the WBC.
But the boxing world isn't buying it. Dave Allen's calling it more exhibition than competition. Spencer Oliver's raging about one-fight boxers getting title shots. Paul Smith's questioning the entire matchup's legitimacy. The criticism is brutal.
This is the real kickboxing king, a heavyweight undisputed champion that's reigned for 12 years plus, you know, at the top. So he's fought everybody. So now, you know, he's had every kind of challenge, you know, he's come through that, and with him being around me in boxing as well for so long, and knowing that he fancies it.
And they've got a point. Rico's limited boxing experience versus a world champion, that's not sporting merit, that's commercial appeal driving decisions. Simon Jordan's already connecting the dots. This is about money, not rankings.
I understand that he's kind of earned the right to do what you want, but I at least expected it to be some sort of active boxer, someone of some... Not to say I don't actually know much about Verhoeven in terms of a kickboxer, of what his quality level is, but what I'm saying is I expected it to be someone of a decent caliber of a professional boxer. But if it's not, then fine. Look, do your thing, do you, and hopefully he returns to actual professional boxing against some of the...
Yet Peter Fury confirms both fighters genuinely want this clash. Two elite competitors testing themselves across disciplines. When both sides agree and legacy moments are on the table, the fight becomes inevitable rather than forced. So here's what we're really looking at. A mentally unstable kickboxing legend with everything to prove, facing an ice-cold champion who thrives in chaos. Rico's either going to channel that rage into devastating power or completely self-destruct under pressure. The whole boxing establishment is watching this unfold with serious concern. Is this the future of combat sports? Crossover spectacles replacing traditional merit-based matchmaking? Because if Rico somehow pulls this off, it changes everything. So here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Is Rico's meltdown a sign of dangerous instability, or exactly the kind of raw emotion that could fuel an upset? If this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening behind the scenes, smash that like button and subscribe, because this fight is going to be absolute chaos.